Welcome to the Rocket Launcher podcast. This is episode 20, and I am your host, Supreme King, joined with my co host as always, and his name is.
It's your guy Omazus.
Yes, Amazes is in the house. How you doing today, sir?
Doing good, man. Staying hydrated. Hydrate. How you doing?
I'm staying hydrated for sure. I am hydrated off of water, not a bunch of pop cans. I'm watching it, even though I bought that refrigerator. So I will talk about that a little bit later. It's in the headline, the Xbox refrigerator. But yes, I am hydrated as well. I drink water more than anything, and I actually have like, how big is this? This is right next to me right now. It's actually an apple juice bottle that holds 96 ounces or 3 quarts or 2.84 liters, right? And it'll be like, it used to have apple juice in it, but once I finish the apple juice, I usually fill it up with water and then I would put it in the freezer and then until it's like basically a brick. And then as it melts, I would drink from that like throughout the day. And yeah, I stay hydrated.
I drink about 2 gallons of water, like every day. I drink a lot of water.
Yeah,
So I
I
have
don't
a
know if it
32-ounce
equals.
bottle.
Yeah,
Well, I have a 32-ounce bottle that I drink like usually I fill that up like 4 times throughout the day, and then I have a gallon jug at home that I try to finish each day. So sometimes a little bit under 2 gallons, but like 432 a gallon is 128. So I drink almost
I don't know if it
250.
equals a gallon. It might, or well, it does equal more than a gallon, but I don't know if it equals close to two. But I do drink about two, like two of these bottles worth usually, because I always like pull a second one out. Like once I finish with one, like when I'm halfway done with one, I got the next one like kind of thawing out a little bit, and by the time I'm done with this one, I refill it and put it back in the freezer, and I drink in that one. I got like a little routine to it, you know what I'm saying? I got a routine to
That's what's up.
it. Yeah. But yeah, more about drinking water and staying hydrated in a second cuz I am going to talk about the Xbox fridge. Um you can't really put this thing in the fridge, but you could put little cans in it. But yeah, I'll talk about it right now. It's not really that big of a deal. But yeah, I got the Xbox fridge and it was the new one that they just released. It kind of came out of nowhere. It was funny because I wasn't even attempting to like buy this, like checking for it or anything. All I know is I just saw like a report on it saying, yeah, there's a new fridge and it's going to be at Walmart now instead of Target. And it's different. It's going to be like, it's a price slash on it. It was not 100. It's going to be 79.99. But this one holds like 8 cans total. And I think the original one was either 10 or 12. I'm not sure. It was one of the two. And so it was like, yeah, it's smaller or whatever. And I remember just looking at the price. I was like, I wanted this for like a good couple weeks. And I remember initially attempting to buy it off the website day one, back when almost everything was getting scalped. And it was like the scalpers hopped on this just like everything else. They dumped it on eBay right away, was charging like almost $300 for it. I was just like, geez, man, we can't even get a refrigerator. But, the scalpers have like died down a little bit since then. And this one just kind of hit the internet and couldn't nobody scalp it, I guess. It was ready and available for whoever wants it. So it was on the Walmart website for 70. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, all right. And then the people who I follow when I get like certain deals and stuff, when they announce certain deals, they just announced that this thing dropped from 70 or 79.99 to like 55 or 53. And I was like, what? I'm like, you know what? I just snagged it. Just because. Bought it online. I didn't even check to see if it was like set up for pre-order first. It just kind of was just there. They was just like, okay, we got this one. It's gonna be at Walmart this time, and it's like ready and available. And then I ended up just getting it sent to me in like 3 days or whatever because I ordered it online. And what was crazy about it is before I remember it being like a pre-order thing, and it wasn't set to come out for some time. Back when the first one was first announced, and you were able to like pre-order it, you had to wait until a certain day, and then at that time, the scalpers, did what they did. But this one just is just available. Like I found out about it and bought it like in a matter of like 24 hours. And I was just like, all right, I'm gonna get this refrigerator. And so, it just comes in the mail, and it's a lot smaller than the original, I'm sure. Because I remember the gimmick that I've seen from like different videos was that people were able to take their actual Series X and put it within that fridge. Like if you took everything out of it or whatever. And I wasn't, I didn't even try. Like when I looked at it, I could tell right away, like I can't put the Series X in this. Like there's no way. There's no way.
You gotta just shove it in, man. Like just push. Just take a hammer and like smack it in there.
Yeah, it didn't do it. So I was looking at it, I was like, all right. But at the same time, it's still a cool little fridge. Now, if you're really, really in the market for a refrigerator, like you just need a mini fridge, you probably wouldn't go with this one simply because of the size. This is more of a gimmick kind of mini fridge. Like it still works as a mini fridge, but it's mainly meant for you to, like, it's almost like a statue in a way. Like you're just supposed to display it. You could turn it on to make sure that it still does what it's supposed to do, but you're not really meant to just continuously use this. And they actually have like a little disclaimer that they put inside of the door that kind of reiterates on that. And I do have the disclaimer here because I didn't think that they talked about it at all. I don't know if it was on the first one, but I remember people saying that there were some issues with the first version of it because the door didn't really latch close. The door was more on a magnetic kind of thing, but for some people it kind of wore down a little bit, so it didn't just close as tightly as it could. It's possibly could have just got back open. And then there were other people complaining about how at some point it was just like ice collecting in it a little bit, like it was starting to do that. And I think those are the only kind of complaints. And so they added a drip tray in it and they angled it a little bit inside so that if something like that happens, it all like goes to the drip tray first before it gets a chance to freeze up. And then you can replace that. And then they had a little warning that they put inside of the door. And so I think I can read this right now. So it just says, this cooler is not intended for continuous use. We recommend you turn off the cooler intermittently. Based on ambient temperatures surrounding your cooler, it will be likely that condensation will appear inside your cooler. This is normal and not a defect. We simply ask you to wipe the condensation with a dry cloth, and then if any frost/ice appears inside your cooler, this will also be normal. Turn Turn cooler off for a couple of hours, wipe away the frost/ice, and commence normal use of the cooler. So they address it a little bit. I think for your average gamer though, if you really just want to have it on while playing a game and like reach for your snacks in there, like you really only need to have it on during your gaming sessions and have your pop in it, and then your regular snacks that need to be refrigerated. you probably only gonna fit something like a Lunchable on the door, maybe a Snickers bar or something on the door anyway, because it is still really small, you know. But I don't expect anybody to actually continuously use this to the point where you should have ice build up anyway. But they addressed it, you know, just to let you know, like, hey, we're aware of this, because I guess that was the issue with the other one. But I would say for me, I won't have it on like that to you know, have ice collecting inside of it. It would only stay on for like certain gaming sessions, you know. It's not really that loud, you know. Matter of fact, it's right next to me. I might let me see. Maybe in real time. I don't know how accurate this is gonna be because my microphone is a lot more professional than the old one. So I don't know if y'all be able to hear it, but I can turn it on for a second. I can fidget around. Give me a moment. I can fidget around, find this cord, and plug it in, and hit the turn on button. And y'all tell me if it's loud. Give me 1 second. I guess while I'm doing that, how's your day going, sir?
My day's going good. I am noticing this Kirby gameplay. I don't know. It's got me a little more excited to actually try this game out. It's looking pretty good.
Oh yeah. So
with the different powers.
They got a little bit of a Souls like thing going on, and it's got its own little twist to it because it's still more of a kiddie-ish game, but the game really turns it up when it gets to the point where it's like really jumping into the Souls stuff. Like when you get later on in the game, they turn the difficulty up. They make the bosses a little bit harder, and you could keep going if you want the challenge, or if you don't want to keep going, you know, you roll credits beforehand for like your normal people. I chose to keep going because originally I rented the game, and then I was like, you know what, I want to keep doing this and playing the Souls aspect to it. And so I went ahead and bought it after I returned the rented version.
This might be my black.
Yeah, I was happy about the save data transferring over. Like I didn't lose save data. Cause remember those old Nintendo 64 cartridges. You get rid of that cartridge, you get rid of your data. That was it. But yeah, so I just plugged in the refrigerator. When you plug it in, it gives you the same Xbox light up that you would see on your normal Series X just by simply being plugged in. And then there's a button, like the button you would press on the system for the dish tray. If you press it on this, it lights up the top of the box green. It has those green lights and stuff on, and then you can kind of see the fan on the inside for the refrigerator. And then I'm going to turn it on right now, and you tell me if you can hear it. It's kind of, I don't know if this is going to be a fair representation because this microphone is so professional. But I'm about to turn it on right now. You tell me if you can hear it.
I don't hear anything.
You don't hear anything? It's on.
I don't hear nothing. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on. It's not that loud. But you're going to have to be a judge of that for yourself if you get it, for whoever out there really wants to be a judge, for it. It's very quiet overall compared to the first version from what I've read from people who owned both or reviewed both.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have it on right now. It's still going. I don't know if I'll be able to hear it back in the playback later, but yeah, it's not distracting. It's not that distracting. I will say if you have the first version of the PS4 or a backwards compatible PS3, that is a lot louder than this refrigerator.
Oh, that thing is loud.
So this refrigerator is okay. When I tested it out, I want to say it didn't take more than about 1.5 hours to 2 hours for it to like cool what I put in there, which was like a couple cans of pop and then like a little fruit cup that I put in there.
Huh.
from just regular, house temperature, and then I just took it and put it in
Right.
there and then it got cold. So it didn't take it that long. I will say though, if you are somebody in a like dorm room setup, you might want to rely on a real like mini fridge, something that's more like a little bit bigger size. Like I would not encourage you to put bacon in this, breakfast sausage, eggs, and like it probably will keep it cool like normal, but like I wouldn't put raw food in there. You know what I mean? Like
I
it's
get
definitely for like, oh, I put a Lunchable in there real quick to hold over for a couple hours while I'm at work or something like that type of
I
thing.
got you.
You know, I wouldn't rely on it because it's more of a gimmick than it is like what it's supposed to be. So yeah, but add it to your wish list online from Walmart and wait for it to drop back down to $50. I'm pretty sure if you missed the sale, like right now, it might be still 50, but if you missed it, I would say hold out for Black Friday and the holiday season first, Christmas as well, to see if it drops back down. If not, go ahead and just buy it for the 70 or 80. If you really, really like it, it's still a cool kind of thing, but it is small. I went into Walmart not too long ago after I ordered this to see if it was actually in the stores. It's not in the stores yet, but when I was in there, I've seen other mini fridges that were like regular size for like, the same or like around the same price of the normal price mini fridge Xbox. So they were around like 100 to 125, 150 for some of them, but they were a lot bigger. Like you could really fit some stuff in there. Like this, you can't fit like takeout in this at all, unless you got like one of them little small chili cheese fries looking things. You can't put like you couldn't put a Chinese food dinner in there. Basically, even the lunch special one is too small for that. But I can imagine you could have done that with like a regular size mini fridge. So just so you're aware, for anybody that wants it, I do still think it's worth it for the novelty, but it's just simply not good enough if you need a mini fridge. So yeah, I think that's all I can say about the mini fridge. I am going to turn it back off. So you can't hear it at all. I can hear the air blowing, but
I hear a little bit of the air now,
you hear it a little
but
bit
it's
now.
also still not distracting. Yeah.
Okay. I can hit the button and turn the light off, and then I can do that, and then it's off, and then I'll unplug it, and then the other light will go off. But yeah,
Okay.
so that's all I got to really say about that. The Xbox mini fridge. I do still think it's worth it if you are a fan of Xbox and you want that mini fridge. It'd be interesting if they do some sort of like PlayStation version. It's like you can only put a plate of food in there and you got to always have it sideways. It's like it'll it'll keep one plate of food cold, just the one plate of food. It's like I don't know, or like it could do a switch where you have to do like maybe they could have done a GameCube boy. Like what would you put in a GameCube? What could fit in that? Like if they did a GameCube mini fridge or something, maybe like two pops or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say two. It's like two game pop for like like a mini, like a few of those little mini cakes.
Yeah, what's funny? Hold on, I'm trying to unplug it. Okay. All right, and it is officially unplugged. One thing about it though, too, when you unplug it, the Xbox light will slowly fade off, and then it'll go black again. So that's the other thing. But yeah. Oh, you know what? One thing I did forget to mention that I didn't really mention. It does still have a port in the front of it that's similar to the port on the actual system, where you could charge your controller or I guess a phone or something. I may not ever use that port. um, You know, it's also funny too. I've seen people say that they only turned it on like once or twice just to do it, but now they store their controllers in there. So maybe you could store controllers in there, and it might actually, if you remove the tray or put it in a certain way, like you could probably store your game cases in there for certain games. You know, if you just really need the space. So it's got use even if you break it. It's got some use. So yeah, but other than that, I guess we could move on. I spent enough time on the refrigerator. You want to tell me about Persona? There's a lot here for Persona for you, right?
Yeah. Good chunk. So,
Okay.
Persona 25th anniversary. So they're re-releasing Persona 5 Royal on a lot of modern platforms. They're making a co-op card game for Persona as well, um, based on Persona 5 specifically. Um,
Okay.
Excuse me. That should be releasing next year, where you take on the role of some of the characters, and turn-based stuff, strategy game. So for those that are the tabletop stuff, this should be a nice like involved sort of game. They're releasing merch. Something that's really weird. They also just released district, like, what was it? It would be like video streaming guidelines, where basically they're saying don't
Okay.
post any of the video game footage until the game releases in your area, and they're asking that you don't post the end game.
The end
Like,
game at
it's
all.
yeah,
Okay.
like it's weird that they're just making those guidelines, because I don't know. We might have to check, because one of our podcast videos has a little bit of Persona 5 Royal footage in it. And but I'm like, but it's old. Like, the game already came out. Now you're asking people
Yeah.
not to show any of it on a re-release. But the re-release doesn't have anything new in it. It's still just Persona 5 Royal. It's weird. I don't know what they're doing here, but they're saying don't stream like to the game prior to its October 21st launch, and don't spoil the game for people. And
Uh,
don't upload the music and things like that. I don't like. Are you trying to copyright it for certain? I get like trying to say don't spoil the game,
right,
but
right,
it's
right.
not. It's not new. Like, Persona 5 Royal was on PS4. That's the version that I'm playing, and they're now releasing it on like Switch and making a PS5 version and like PC and all this other stuff. But the game has already been out, so I don't understand what they're trying to hold back on.
You know what's interesting? I actually was looking at a lot of this type of stuff for myself and for the channel, because I remember saying to myself, one of the first things I wanted to do was avoid any type of copyright issues, obviously.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking that I can show like game footage of a lot of games, but I don't know if I wanted to show the endings of certain games. And so
Right.
far, I don't think I ever actually did do that. If I did, I apologize. I think actually, you know what's funny? I think the the I'm pretty sure on this podcast, on the playlist, right after Kirby's footage, it's supposed to be the ending to Borderlands 2. Ironically,
It's old enough. It's
huh?
old enough that it's okay.
It's
That's what I'm
old
feeling. It's
enough.
one of those things like, don't spoil the original Jurassic Park for me, or something like, don't spoil Sixth Sense. Like, homie,
Yeah.
it's old at this point. Like,
Yeah, you know
you
what's
could
funny? Like,
spoil the ending.
Borderlands 2 also is not even in the topics though. It's just the gameplay. Like, we just have some gameplay going. It's not in the
Yep.
topics. It's not like I titled it Borderlands 2 ending, Borderlands 2 reveal, none of that stuff. It's just a game that's playing.
Uh,
You
yeah. So what
know.
they're asking people to do is, if you're gonna have Persona 5 Royal footage, put a spoiler warning in the title, even though ours is the what part we showed was me showing off that you can get the Featherman costumes, I guess, which if you knew what came with the DLC, you could see it. And now you know what they look like. And it's early game footage. But then past that, they said don't post anything after like in game because it follows the calendar. So in game December 12th. Like what happens if they don't post any of them? Because after that is like the ending of the game.
Right.
So they're asking don't post anything after like any video footage after that. Which I mean I guess I can respect if it's a re-release of a relatively like more recent game. You don't want to spoil it for people.
What's funny too, because
like,
I've watched just recently for a couple of people, I've watched people play The Last of Us Part 1 when it was released not too long ago. I've watched them play towards the end like of that game, and
yeah,
I don't know, they've streamed it and they have it up, some people on YouTube, some people on Twitch. I like watching people play like certain games like that, but that was one of them. And yeah.
Part of them are saying please don't like surprise spoil it for people, let people play at their own pace. Which I guess is nice. It's just weird to do that for a re-release of the game. Like if somebody said don't post the ending of God of War, please, like Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Like I get, but if you ask this year, please don't post any video game footage of God of War 2018. It's like, well, no, because that was 2018. Like, I understand you're releasing it now on PC, but it has been posted already.
Like, it's just kind of strange to me, though, because, like, I've also, like, I guess I'll say it here because I am still trying to improve the channel overall as much as I can. And you can argue so far I've spent way too much money than I was supposed to be spending at this stage. But I'm obsessed with trying to make things better, just as a personal thing for me. But the biggest thing that I was like, okay, I'm going to steer away from this now, ironically, is my biggest criticism behind the scene from some of my haters. Shout out to the haters. But one of the things that they would say is like, well, you're on here and you're talking games, but you're not showing any gameplay. And then I'll be like, so you're just telling me you're not watching the podcast, basically, because what you see right here is me not only gameplay, I'm fighting a boss, and I'm at the point where I have to fight this boss without getting hit once. If I get hit once, I got to restart, basically. So far, I haven't got hit once. But that's besides the point. Like, the point was just like, I'm trying to figure out what is allowed, because typically when you play in a game, you do include sound. And I've noticed before that, you know, with certain games, the sound is what gets you in trouble. Like the soundtrack is what gets you in trouble, period, for just anything. Like, it's always coming down to the copyright being the music. The music is what gets you there in trouble. But I want to include gameplay clips with me on camera talking with you can see me, you can hear me, and I'm playing stuff, your typical streamer looking stuff. I want to include that on the channel at some point. But I don't know where my limitations are when it comes to what's copyrighted. You know, am I going to be able to just play my game that I paid for and not have any issues? You know, I'm still big into emulation, and I know there's a big gray area there. And I was just like, maybe I just won't put emulated stuff on here, right? Okay. But then at the same time, I've seen everything I know about emulation came from YouTube. There are people who flat out just show you exactly where to get stuff directly on a YouTube video. You know what I'm saying? And they're on camera. You see their face, you hear their voice, everything. You know exactly who they are. You know, if you subscribe to them, and I do subscribe to some of them, and they put me on. They put me on, and I went and I got stuff. I got stuff on my phone. I got stuff on this computer right here. You know what I'm saying? And then at the same time, I go back and I buy older systems. But like, I don't know where the internet is, because the internet is going to act a certain way, and then we already know how Nintendo is with like, this is a Nintendo product. I was actually hesitant on showing Nintendo footage. I just decided to go ahead and do it. Before I was saying if I did, it would be in a third hour, if it's a third hour. But now I'm just like, well, I don't mind showing it right here, and we'll see what happens when it happens. But I don't know what would happen if I just post this exact same clip as pure gameplay with the sound directly on my channel.
It's the sound, it seems like, that they look for.
Yeah.
I think it's so part of the argument has to do with the transformative stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So like if we're talking over it, it's background footage, we're doing our own thing.
Yeah, so this is considered transformative to an extent, right?
But like, yeah, if you just post it and it's just like boom, I think you can argue that it's not
as transformative.
But there has to be some sort of like protection laws over streamers, because that's a thing now. So
it's a whole network, right? It's like it's a whole platform, despite whatever they had going on, their ups and downs recently. Everybody gets on there. Like, we can go right now and there'll be a whole lot of people, good and bad, doing it. So
yeah, so it's crazy. I don't know. They're asking people to not stream. But that's another thing when they were like, please don't put any of the music online. The music's been online. I sometimes play it in the background when I'm working.
But people have the music in the background of their actual videos sometimes, and it don't even be gameplay. I've recognized some Persona 5 music in other people's vids.
So it's interesting that they're trying to do this, but I don't know. I just feel like if you don't want any of the game spoiled, watch out. Hopefully nobody like spoils it for you by just throwing it in there. Like there's a difference between like don't look up a Persona 5 video and then get mad if there's like a spoiler in it.
Yeah.
But hopefully nobody like shots with spoilers, and I think the footage we used from just me showing off the game, and that's what I like to do, like for Stray as well. Like when we showed it off, I think it's early enough in the game that it's not really a spoiler. It's more of like it would be what you see when they say like IGN first look or something like that. So it's early enough that it doesn't really spoil anything. It's out of context and everything, so it should be okay.
This is early and a little out of context on what you see here. Kirby didn't really have a story. You just kind of played it.
Okay.
You didn't really. And then this is also another game where there was not really voice acting like that throughout the game and stuff too. It's a Nintendo game, right? So I don't know, but at the same time, there are still gray areas there where I didn't want to just post something and then I get a copyright strike or something, or a copyright claim. And I'm like, it's just a random vid. Because if anybody's seen my channel, I don't just post one thing every now and then. Like, I'm hitting you with some frequent stuff. It might not get as many views right away, but there's enough videos there that if you subscribe right now, for everybody like, comment, share, subscribe, you can go back and watch at least 100 as of this recording. And if I just all of a sudden start posting like 3 to 4 actual gameplay clips, I'm on camera, I'm talking, I got part 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and I'm just posting, and all of a sudden I wake up and I get a notification that you got struck because of like this vid, all at one time. Because I hear when they get strikes and stuff, it be happening all at once, and they usually wait. Yeah. They wait a while so they can really get you. Sometimes they like really evil with it. And I've heard that, like, you know, the platform always side with the money more than they side with you. That's just how it goes down. And so right now I was like, okay, I'm kind of avoiding it because I'm kind of just sitting in the corner in my little area that I set up to record. And I was mainly talking. I didn't do much of anything. I just talked, did the same stuff everybody else was doing. But a lot of bigger gaming content channels and stuff, not all of them play directly on YouTube like that. Some of them do, but they have like a certain format to how they do it. And the most that I know from what I've observed is that they'll turn the game's volume like way down, or they'll turn the music portion of it off completely. They'll just like
Yeah.
it won't have no background music. It might have a little bit of like a little bit of a like the sounds of like guns and stuff. All of that stuff is still on. There are certain
Okay.
people who don't play cutscenes in games. Like they just won't show that. They'll fast forward it. Um, One big channel that I watch is called the Rab Rat. Like I
Yeah.
remember hearing him say he got an issue with like certain cutscenes, and it was because of like, well, I think it still came back to the music. Like it was music within certain cutscenes, and it was copyrighted, and he had to re-upload something. And so it's
Ugh.
like me, I ain't trying to deal with none of that. When I say I upload something, I'm not trying to. I mean, yeah, you will revise certain things before you upload the final. It's like once you see the final piece, that's it. I'll work better on the next one. You know,
Okay.
that's how I look at it. But yeah, I don't know. So
Oh. But back to some positive stuff about it for Persona.
yeah,
Like, so you got Persona 5 Royal being re-released on like a bunch of like platforms. Then they're gonna be
yeah,
releasing Persona 3 and 4 as well, which I'm excited to play those. Because I've never played those ones before. So
hmm,
excited to play those and everything. But then they did hint, they didn't outright say it, but they mentioned like the future of the Persona series, which leads everyone to believe they're gonna do a Persona 6 as well. Uh which
that
should
should
be
be
good.
awesome.
Resurgence, like they're doing 25th anniversary. They're releasing all this extra stuff, and uh I'm excited for that. Like I'm excited to see where the series goes. I'm a late add-on to the series, but excited to see where it goes. Hopefully I really want them to do one focused on that like Featherman thing. So I guess now it's like it's a spoiler, but it's a spoiler that doesn't amount to anything.
Hmm.
So spoiler that doesn't amount to anything. Uh the Feathermen are like the in-universe version of Power Rangers. It's like their own version that they made in the show. So it's like the popular show in there is called the Feathermen, like Featherman Phoenix or something like that. And
Hmm.
each Persona series has their own like season, I guess, like iteration of the Feathermen. And it's just a Power Rangers parody, but it's just in universe. And everybody, a lot of people want Persona 6 to focus on a Featherman team, which I think would be awesome. It would be like basically turn-based Power Rangers.
Hey, that'd
One
be
step
cool.
closer to a Power Ranger game.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I
But just
like.
so people know, so I've been playing Persona 5 and I'm 124 hours in.
Yeah,
And
you blew
like,
way
no,
past
that's
me. I
the
think I was
game.
like 20 or 30. There's another
Okay.
game that I was playing that I kind of just stopped. I'm still, it's still in rotation too. It was just I forgot what took me off of it. It was something that took me off of it where it was just a little bit more action based. It might have been Halo. It's
Okay.
something took me off of it that was more action based. Turn based is like one of the genres I don't really like as much. I think that's in one of our topics about
Yeah.
genres, so I'll get to that in a minute, I guess. But yeah, I'm all here for the Persona stuff. You know what's funny about the Persona stuff though? I wanted to get like the Persona stuff almost on different platforms. So I have Persona 5 on PS5, but
Okay.
the oldest one that they re-released, Persona 3 Portable.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
P3.
can you guess which system I would probably get that on? So
Probably.
I will probably go with either Switch or Steam Deck when it gets to that point, or
Okay.
PC, and then on Steam Deck. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
four
P3 and
would
P4 Golden.
yeah, four golden would probably be either PC or Xbox. And I think somewhere in the middle of that, there's the Arena, Persona 4 Arena, and then
Oh,
Persona 5 Strikers. Was
Strikers.
Strikers? I think I have access to on PS5. But yeah,
Now that
so
one you might like more because I think Strikers is not turn based. I think. I think it's like
yeah, I'm
button
pretty sure it's not
melee.
because I looked at it. It's not. Yeah, it's more. I was gonna say Hyrule Warriors. That's not correct.
Yeah.
Don't. That's
Well,
not
Button
correct.
Match Melee, right?
Yeah, that's what I was. That's what I meant when It's not on the level of like it's not exactly Hyrule Warriors, but
Right.
yeah, button mashing a little bit, you know. But that takes. I do know Strikers takes place after Royal, so
Yes.
just for
So
the
I'm waiting
order
to.
for the order of it. But yeah, you might get to it before I do.
Probably.
Yeah. So for the persona, like not the negative stuff wasn't for persona. I understand what they were trying to say. It just seems a little odd because it's just a huge gray
Oh,
area
yeah.
there. On YouTube, I watch gameplay stuff all the time. I watch my people do whatever they do. However they edit their stuff. It's just there's a gray area there for me because that's an area where I haven't really grown the channel yet. That I'm looking into. So yeah, a lot of layers on this tiny channel, podcasting, some, regular content, and then adding on gaming content, shorts, clips everywhere, that help it grow. So yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Persona 6 should be good. I think it'll be good. Whether or not the Switch can handle it will be interesting. I don't even know if they'll. I don't know how that. I don't know how that would happen. I don't know what they would do with that. What platform? If it would start off exclusive somewhere and then multi-plat or fully multi-platform to start, that would be an interesting thing to see. Yeah. So that's Persona. I don't know what else to say about that. That took up a lot of time. I didn't think it was going to take. But yeah. So Persona. I guess that's it. The next thing. I think I see on my agenda there was like Pokemon Silver I put next. I can keep this brief. It's not really that big of a thing. But
all right.
I just wanted to mention because originally when you put that you wanted to talk about the Persona stuff, I thought you meant that you was going to talk about like stuff in your progression of the game so far that you was excited to talk about. I was like, all right, if he's going to talk about that. I
don't spoil anything.
Yeah, I was like, if he's going to talk about that, then I'm going to talk about Pokemon Soul Silver. I don't know if people care if I spoiled Soul Silver. I'm not.
That game is old. That game is old. You should know already.
It's not really nothing to spoil that I want to talk about. It's just I wanted to mention there was this mini game within Soul Silver that I kind of knew was there but didn't really try to play. It's almost like a gambling kind of thing in a way, but you weren't putting up any money, so it technically wasn't gambling. But at the same time, it might have been the earliest stages of this. But if you Google Pokemon Soul Silver coin game, put coin game in there, and it should come up, and that's the game that I was referring to. I don't know its original name, but basically you play this little Sudoku type of game that within it that's like very, very math based. And what's the name of that one game where you got to pick a button, you press a button? It's a PC game. It's on like every PC right next to Solitary. You press a button, you got to avoid a bomb. You know what I'm talking about? And it's like on a grid. Yeah, I think it's that. This plays off of that, and they have Voltorbs everywhere. Right. And so they have that in there, but you literally need, in order to like really do this on the higher levels, you got to pull out a notebook and like really write it down and do deduction basically in order to do it. And I got like really into it, like really at the last minute, like yesterday as of this recording. It was playing it from like 7 or 8 at night to like 2 a.m, and it was just all math. Like the whole thing is math, and just avoid the Voltorbs. But in order to avoid the Voltorbs, especially on the higher levels, you just have to sit there and do math. And I was like so into it because it'll tell you like, okay, is this many Voltorbs on this row? And then on the column side is this many Voltorbs. And then it's like that for the whole grid. And then at the same time, it'll tell you is this many points on this row and this many points on this row. And that's all the information you got. And then you have to start clicking everywhere. And then it'll turn over a number, right? And the number is either going to be 1, 2, or 3. The name of the game is to get all or as many 2s and 3s as you can get before you quit the game. When you quit the game, at whatever point you quit the game, you get all the points that you earned so far. Or if you hit a Voltorb, you get no points. And then whatever points you get, you literally you keep those points. And what makes it not gambling, you never wager any points. So you should never lose. You can only gain, or you get 0, basically. And I can see where it probably would have been addictive if they put the gambling part in there where you're actually wagering or you got to like do a microtransaction. But again, this is ancient. It's like before microtransactions was even a thing and it was all purely offline. But it was still addictive enough. And I think afterwards, when you get enough points overall, you can get certain Pokemon when you go back to the other prize area or whatever. But for me, it was just more about the game and the little points thing and doing the math. It was just really, really interesting to see. And I don't know how anybody would get to this. Maybe they got an official version where you could play this in real life or something. I just think it's very interesting. If you are into math, I know the general public is actually hating math from this core. But for anybody out there that's a super nerd that's really, like they're not resentful of math whenever they took it, this is a very cool version of like just doing simple like deduction. And is that the right term, deduction? I keep saying it. I think it is. Yeah. Doing that and just doing like logically speaking, and okay, it's this many pieces left on this row, I got this many Voltorbs I gotta like avoid, and then logically speaking, because of this column, it has to be here or here because of these reasons. So then you tap the next one and you find out if you're right or wrong. A lot of times if you did the math correctly and you weren't anxious and you really took your time and wrote everything all down on a sheet of paper and stuff, you'll get it. And you will like, it feels so satisfying. And you'll like clear it and go to the next level. This is all on Soul Silver. It's like probably not even the biggest point of Soul Silver. And I'm still playing it on my phone technically with emulation with the Razer Kishi. It just had this sitting. I had that sitting on my desk a little bit. I would pick it up sometime or just like hit the touch screen on it because I had my full notebook out and I had grids of this like on multiple sheets of paper, grids of this like going through and like I'll hit a Voltorb every now and then and be mad. Like, man, what? How? That's impossible. I did the math. And so, yeah, I don't know what the official name of it is, but for anybody who, remembers, I know that's got to be a regular game, that version of it. Because I know they do like Sudoku kind of thing, and then they do the Minesweeper thing. Somebody out there combined the two. Somebody out there did. And so I would say, yeah, give that a try if you into some old school like newspaper type games and stuff. Like if your lights go out one day and you ain't got nothing else, there you go. For everybody out there who was off the grid talking about how am I gonna play my games, well, you could play that. Like you can figure that out. So I just thought it was cool. Completely useless to everybody else, maybe. I thought it was cool. I don't know.
That's what's up.
So yeah,
it makes me want to revisit it because I haven't played Soul Silver in a very long time. So
yeah, I will say though, it is still located in a part of the game where you do gotta get at least halfway into it to get to that town.
Yeah.
So there is that, but yeah, look up Soul Silver coin game and then do some research. I'm sure you'll find a regular one somewhere, regular title on how to do it. Probably some website because I know they had them Sudoku stuff on websites all the time. and you can figure
Yeah.
that out. So yeah, I game in so many different ways, people. So many different ways. Um, yeah, so that's it for that. I guess as crazy as it might sound, we're almost at the halfway point of this. There wasn't supposed to be a halfway point. This was supposed to go by way quicker.
Yeah.
But I guess yeah, we got 10 more minutes before the quote unquote halfway point. So I guess we can go into one of your questions. Cuz we're
All
just
right.
talking regular gaming cuz this is technically a pre-record. By the time you hear this, it's technically 2 weeks old because we
Yeah,
got
but
stuff to do. Yes.
yeah, we do. But just like before, and I like kind of doing this, and I like to sprinkle it in every once in a while.
Yeah.
Just throwing in extra little like gaming topics, and then hopefully as our so like the subscribers grow and everything, and our viewers grow, you can add your input because I'd like to hear from anybody listening what you think about these topics and like what games you think about when you hear the topics.
Yeah, so this is kind of interesting too. So the very next thing that was on my list, it says the worst game in your favorite genre and then the best game in your least favorite genre.
Yeah.
So
So the idea is supposed to be and we're gonna talk about genres soon as well, like different types of games, but like out of like one of your like top, I guess it doesn't have to necessarily be like your favorite genre, but like
yeah.
one of the top like types of games you like to play. What was the one game in there I was like, but I hate this one, or the flip side, out of a genre that you typically try to avoid, what was one game that you did find yourself enjoying?
Yeah, so I guess for the one where it's the best game and the least favorite genre,
Uh huh.
so far I can probably say Soul Silver. I know it sounds kind of crazy. It's like what? But it's
Yeah.
just
Well,
one of the
turn based.
least favorite genres right now for me is turn based for sure.
Okay.
It's turn based, but the Pokemon games I enjoyed and I would like. It's like the only ones. Pokemon and I guess I could say Digimon. I would tolerate turn based with. Um, Technically Persona as well. Persona would be like 2 or 3. Like Pokemon would be number 1. Where
Okay.
I would play that and I know it's turn based, but once you go from that and you go into all the JRPGs, it's harder for me to get into. I'm gonna be honest. Like a lot of
Okay.
them, the non-popular ones, I know a lot of like everybody who have the Naruto clothes and they regular clothes and they closets and stuff. Like they know all these games. Like I'm nowhere near that level. I'm gonna be honest. I'm nowhere near that level. But I'll make an exception for Pokemon. I would say,
Okay.
yeah,
All right. So for me, the best game in one of my least favorite genres, something that I hate the most, is gotcha games. Uh,
oh
all
yeah,
those games where they're made solely for you to buy loot boxes and spend all your money to just keep getting like random items. Like that's the entire design of the game, and somehow they still make millions of dollars. Uh, I hate gotcha games. But I will say, out of the gotcha game category, though, and honestly, it's the only game I like in there. Would be Genshin Impact.
okay,
So, and it's the more popular one, but like, I thoroughly enjoyed the game without having to put any money at all in there. And of course, every time I load it up, the first thing it would ask is like, "You want to buy this one thing?" And I'm like, "No," and then just move on with the game. But like, it felt like a solid story. It was easy to pick up, hack and slash stuff. I like the characters that I had unlocked. Of course, they hide the really good characters behind a paywall. I just didn't play with them. Uh, but I think overall for a game where if it's just you just want to pick up something for free, you could get a good amount of fun out of that game without having to put any money in it at all. Oh,
yeah,
yeah, I would say yeah, that would be Genshin Impact would be probably the top like and the only gotcha game that I played. And believe I didn't put any money into it. at all, but I did enjoy it.
Okay, so for the other part of it, this is going to be a very interesting one for me to say for
Okay.
people. So the game that's the worst game in my favorite genre, like this is going to be crazy, right? So the worst game is going to be WWE the 2K series.
Okay.
And
A
the
whole thing.
as a series, and my favorite genre would be wrestling games. So
Okay.
this is going to be an interesting kind of thing because it's like, well, what do you do? Well, that's the whole problem because I never wanted to give up wrestling games, but I didn't like the idea of them always being as broken as they were. And then the
Uh-huh.
restrictions that they were having throughout the years, where 1 minute something is there that I like, the next minute is not there no more. To the point where at one point I just gave it up. I was just like, I'll just watch wrestling when I want to watch it, but I didn't want to play the games anymore. And I still want to I want to check out the AEW game whenever it does come out.
Okay.
And shout out to Fire Pro Wrestling. I still think they do an awesome job of what they do. But just when it comes to like what's considered the mainline ones, I just thought the 2K series at one point it was just kind of it. It was the writing on the wall for me. I don't know how everybody else might feel about it, but one of my favorite. I think technically, if you think about it, is more the bigger genre might be beat 'em ups. Maybe I don't know, or
Okay.
fighting 3D fighting might be the bigger name, bigger genre. But I would just say, just as a niche, or if I simplified it down, the wrestling genre in video gaming was one of my favorites growing up in the PS2
Okay.
era, especially in the PS2 era, and then No Mercy back in like N64. And the wrestling games now just don't match it. It just don't match it. But the thing about it is the biggest part about it was always the created character aspects, and then what we just got done talking about, the issues with licensed music, and then if you could play certain people you banned, all that type of stuff. It's like that just takes the
Yep.
fun out of it, you know.
Yeah.
Or the limitations on created characters and stuff. It's like, yo, you a wrestling fan, you want them all. You want the Fire Pro Wrestling basically. You want to
Uh-huh.
basically have everybody every era from start to finish. Like you can't do that no more. It's like, well, that's a huge part of a wrestling game. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's so that might sound crazy to some people. It's like what, but yeah, that's that's where I'm at with it. Yeah,
Okay. Well, for me, I couldn't pick a game out of my number one genre
yeah.
because every game that I've played in my number one genre I've enjoyed a lot. So I would have to pick my second favorite genre. I guess it would be my third favorite genre. My top three.
All
So out
right.
of my third favorite genre game, it would be platformers. I
Okay.
love platforming games. Um, Action platformers like Ratchet and Clank, or your normal platformers, kind of like Stray or things like that. Even your older school platformers are like Mario and everything. I like platformers. The worst one for me would probably be, and it feels kind of mean to beat up on this game more than it already has
Okay.
been beat up on. Mighty Number Nine. Now, I did not fall under the hype that everybody put in for the money for Mighty
Okay.
Number Nine. 'Cause I was perfectly fine with the Mega Man games that I already played, and then I had moved on. It would be cool if this thing was made, but I wasn't like one of the like backers for it or really looking for this game to be made. But it did come out, and eventually it was like free for like PlayStation Plus or something. So I downloaded it. I opened it up and I went to go play it, and I just remember within that first level, every control felt clunky, every movement felt clunky,
Yikes.
everything felt boring. Like it was just the movement didn't feel right. Like for a platformer, you felt heavy, and the it was uninspired. It did feel like Mega Man off wish list, like or off wish. You know, like
Oh,
that's
not
what
the
it felt
wish
like.
list.
But like it was bad. And I remember I didn't even get through the first level, and I just cut it off and uninstalled it.
Mm.
Oh, and I was just like, I'm not gonna play this.
So
And
you
like,
just
so
said just from the get go it was a no. You didn't
it
give
was
it
a
too
big
much of a
no.
chance. Just nope.
Nope. So that would probably be like, yeah, it was the worst. It's not in my top or another game that I do want to kind of like talk about. It wasn't in my top genre, but one of my top 5 is third person shooters. Even though
Okay.
we're going to mention only the top 3, but one of my top 5 is third person shooters and Bunny Raiders. Bunny Raiders is so
Buddy Raiders.
Bunny Raiders is so bad. We played it. That's considered a third person shooter, I guess, but it was so bad. But
Yeah, Buddy Raiders was a little rough. That was a little
yeah,
rough. But I guess we are technically at the halfway point. That's so crazy because I really expected this to go way quicker. It might still go quicker because we not only are we at a halfway point there, we don't have too much left on this paper, so that's fine. So at the halfway point, I usually say, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this out to a friend. Anybody looking for a new podcast that's hitting the scene, that talks extreme nerdcore stuff. At the halfway point, I also put you on how you can get some free games, and mainly it's from Epic Game Store, our unofficial sponsor. I always talk about them only because free is free, and you don't even have to have a credit card or a debit card on file. You just have to have an account. You don't even have to have a PC yet. You just need the account. You can claim everything and then log back out. And so I think on my Epic account, I have over 100 games here now that I have not paid for at all. Like I have
yep.
not.
And
Yeah, it's just there. Even though, yes, because it's free, not everything is going to be, like the greatest of all time type games or whatever. But free is free, and then you still get some gems here and there, and they do close
oh
the
yeah,
gap. If it's stuff that you've been looking at but just didn't get around to buying, 9 times out of 10, over time, Epic Games is going to close the gap for you. They're going to buy certain things for you that you were looking at and kind of forgot about, because that's happened to me a few times. And so the games that are out that I just wanted to make mention are available from October 20th until October 27th. That is Evoland Legendary Edition and then Fallout 3 Game of the Year Edition. So those two you have to claim now as of this recording until October 27th. And then after that, I actually don't know what it is because this is a pre-record and we're way too far back. But you can still check Epic Games to see what the next one is. It might actually be a horror game. We might have to see.
hope
The
so.
following week after that, I'll probably report on it officially, but you'll be running out of time by that point. So definitely just go on to Epic Games and grab some of those games.
For sure.
The next thing on here, this is gonna be funny because the next question you put was a video game boss you hated the most. Um, I don't know if this is with it. Something weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. That's his own
Oh, we
thing.
did
So
miss one though. We did miss one though.
what do we miss?
Before even the worst game in your favorite genre and best game in your least favorite genre, just what are your top 3 genres of video games and your bottom 3?
Oh yeah, okay. So I guess we could say that first, just to say what your genres are. So I think wrestling is like very specific, but I guess the bigger one would be beat 'em ups. Is that considered a beat 'em up, or is that considered a sports or
Like
wrestling on its own?
uh, like a sports simulator, I think it would be considered. Maybe.
Yeah.
Let's find
So,
out.
um, if I go away from that,
It is considered. Oh, it's its own thing. Professional wrestling sports video game.
yeah. So that was probably, as far as all time, that's one of my best ones. Because there was a lot of games in the past that was like the biggest thing that I played was wrestling for generations. It wasn't only until recently where I was just like, yeah, I'll pick up wrestling every now and then. But yeah, that would be one of the top of all times. The next one, also for all time, I guess I could say is platformers, just because of the full history. And then the third one is just probably more considered for today as well. Just third person action adventure. You could probably say over the shoulder, or if it pans it back a little bit, just third person action adventure, basically. That would be the third as far as the best. The bottom. So I would put turn based in there. It's not the worst. It would be the least of the worst though, because I still like some of those games. Outside of that, all them dating simulators, all of that,
I don't like those.
I don't even tolerate. I don't even play it. That's not a game for me.
That's boring, man.
That's not a
I
game for
played,
me.
with some friends, we played through like 2 of them.
I know
I
it's
remember
like the 2K series for girls is what they call it, like the Sims and stuff. They say that's 2K for girls. I've always heard
if
people
you're with
say
a
that.
group of friends and you're drinking and everybody picks a character to voice, and you make the like one of them we did, you make the character like your main character, whatever you want him to look like. So it was like pretty much Goku with like a receding hairline and like small like just like open like how I put this. It was the eyes of someone who looks like they're taking some medication they shouldn't be.
Okay.
But yeah, like so the whole thing looks goofy, but everything's like supposed to be all serious, and everyone's picking a role and like doing voices and just being just silly. Like I couldn't sit there and just play that on my own or anything like
Yeah.
that. It was just a group of people mocking the game. It was fun.
Yeah, so
Well, I can see it. Yeah, I can see that being the bottom. That's fine.
yeah, so that one, and then I think the next one would be those like movie adaptation kind of things where it's like point and click, and you just kind of you're not even really playing, you just like you watching it, whatever, and it's like
uh,
point and
okay.
click has got like a billion endings and everybody's acting it out. Like I think there was a game I played it and it was just kind of like whatever. It was a quick experience, but it's not a game to me. And that was like, you remember Erica? It was a game
Yeah.
called Erica, and you had to download an app on your phone, and it was like this whole thing to do just to do it, and you press little things. Like it was an interesting thing, but that's like the farthest from a game I would want to play, like as a genre. Like I could not see myself playing that where I'm buying games back in, you know what I'm saying? Like buying a bunch of games for that. No, that type of genre, no.
Okay.
So
All right.
that would be the top worst.
That's fine. All right, I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna start with the worst and then go with the best. Just to end on a happier note
All
with the
right.
topic. So for the worst for me, the least of the worst, but still at the bottom would be battle royal games. Now, technically, Fall Guys is a battle royal game, but I consider it more of a platformer with other people there. So I do
Right.
like enjoy it, but regular like Call of Duty, like all of those battle royale games, I do not like them. I am horrible at them. Probably the best one that I enjoyed was Star Wars Battlefront. Uh, but I'm not good at them. I don't want to learn them because as I try to learn them, I still got to deal with people just losing consistently until I can finally get somewhat good, and then people cheat. So it's just like I don't
Yeah.
care about. I'm not trying to do these. I don't like. I'm not the whole random people and then like talking over comms and all that other stuff. Like I play games with people really that I know, or like I'll team up with people in like Fall Guys and everything, but we're not talking to each other, and things like that. Like I always get like it's just like I don't want to do those. So I do not like battle royal games personally, which is why I laugh a lot about the Call of Duty stuff because I'm just like I'm not gonna really be playing them anyways. Or why like for Battlefront or Battlefield 2042, where it was
Hmm.
like they showed off the game and I was like, this is looking cool. And as soon as they announced there was no story mode, I was like, well then no, I'm good. Like completely. I didn't want to play it at all.
Yeah.
So the battle royals, yeah. The next one would be the gotcha games that I talk about. I just feel like it's just stealing money from people and like people with gambling like problems to just sit there and just like I'm gonna pay for a loot box and everything and just you're wasting so much money on these games. And I
Yeah.
feel like because of gotcha games, so many other games now just implement loot boxes and go through microtransactions because of how much gotcha games make. So I just hold a grudge against them. And then number 3, the worst genre that it's like it's you cannot get me to play. I've tried and I just cannot enjoy it. It is simulators, like Sims, like life simulators and building simulators. So that whole City Skylines or Mega
Yeah,
Roller Coaster
yeah.
Park or even the Jurassic World one, or Sims or why I
I
couldn't
would
get it.
probably,
Like,
you know what? I would probably put that in there in the place of the turn base. I would take turn base out
okay,
and put that in there when I
it's
really
just
think about it,
oh,
because I wouldn't even play those games at all. At least with the turn base, I have a game I would play and excited
yeah.
about. I can't see myself being excited about any roller coaster simulator type thing. No.
I tried to get into Sims because my sister-in-law is like so into the Sims and just gets so into it, has a whole like little family in there that like she manages and like all
It's
that stuff.
2K for
I love
girls.
it. Yeah. I jump in and I tried and it was like, how do I get this house? And it's like you can either like buy a pre-made house or you can build one. And I put 2 steps into building and said, "No, I'm just gonna get a pre-made one. I don't want to do this." So I got a
Yeah.
pre-made one, and it was like, "What do I do next?" It's like, "You go work." I was like, "Okay, this is boring," and I just turned it back off. And I was like, "I
I
can't."
attempted to play
Like,
The Sims for like a good hour when they first made it like a part of
yep,
PlayStation Plus.
I
And I was
tried.
just
I made
like,
it to like 30 minutes.
yeah, I was just like, never again, never went back to it. That was it. It was one
Yep.
time. That was it.
As you
Mm.
know, I am super into customizing a character and creating like
Yeah.
characters and things like that. I'm so into doing that for other games. So I thought I would like things like this, because it's like now I'm making everything, and it's just I don't like it. Like I can't get into them, and it was like it sucks because one of the games that does look relatively interesting that I want to look up more of, but I just think I'm not gonna like is that game Cult of the Lamb.
Hmm.
Uh, because even though you do the extra stuff, it is still like simulator kind of.
Hmm.
Uh, Instead of more RPG. And it's just like I don't like simulator stuff. Like I even
Yeah.
remember there was that what was that one? What's the one that's like super popular that you don't get why it's so popular? It was a simulator one on the Switch. It was
Animal
like the white
Crossing.
Animal Crossing. So part of Animal Crossing, there was somebody made an entire like Power Ranger like item. They had a Power Ranger set. They had the Megazord in there. It was like all this other stuff that pretty much was Power Rangers. And I was like, that looks cool. And then I realized how many hours they had to put into getting all that stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to do that. I wouldn't want to do that. And even then, you do it all, and it's like cool. You can look at it. That's it. And it was like, I can't. So I cannot do simulators.
I wouldn't hate
Now,
on Animal Crossing. It's not my thing. It's just I was just
yes,
surprised at how many people gravitated towards it when they did. Not even just the latest one, but even back in the day. Because when I was just look at it, I'm like, what exactly are you even doing? Like you just kind of just there with that little character or whatever. But
yep.
that's how I
It's
used to
just
just
not my
feel.
thing.
And they used to say
No,
things like, "Oh, it's got endless hours. It's never gonna be over." When you had like a time frame where games were like one and done, and I'm like, "What do you
uh-huh.
mean it's never going to be over?" And they would say things like, "Every time you go back, there's something else to do. Something
Yeah.
else is happening, and it's always different." And I'll be like,
Te-
"What? Like what?"
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a thing. So I don't hate on it. It is what it is. It's just not for me. It's just simply not for
Yeah.
me.
So
Um,
now for my top three of I mean, shout out to third person shooters and things like that. But I would say out of my
mhm.
top three, number three would be platformers, right? Like so, like Ratchet and Clank, Mario, things like that. Like I love those type of things. Number two would be role playing games. So RPGs and JRPGs. So I actually like the turn based stuff. I don't
Mhm.
mind it. Like Pokemon, Persona. But then the other RPGs like Skyrim and Outer Worlds, I like getting lost into like create this character and then you just like live in this world. And then some of them like between like Persona and Dragon Age and Outriders, the relationships that you make with people in the game determine how things work out in the game. Um, or like with Pokemon, determining what you do determines how difficult the game's gonna be, whether you grind early or what type of Pokemon you get, and things like that. Like I love those type of games. South Park, The Fractured But Whole, that one was fantastic. Uh, like I love RPGs and JRPGs. And then I would say my number one would be, and it's similar to yours too, action adventure games. So God of War, Batman, Spider Man, all of those.
Yeah.
Oh, those action adventure games are like hands down. Those are that's my top category. That will always get my attention right away. And then yeah, shout out to third person shooters as well. That's in that top five. But like more specifically, other than the third person shooter specific, but the like more hack and slashy kind of ones, like the combat with Batman or the hack and slash nature of God of War, like those would be my top.
Right.
And funny
Yeah.
enough, I do think sports simulators are in my top five too. Like I love wrestling and I love Madden. So, I don't love Madden. I love football. Madden gets
Football, but not
Madden
Madden.
2003. I love. The other ones
Yeah, see, that's
but
kind of like a thing too. It's like you'll like a certain type of game, but by a certain year. But there's so
that's
many
right.
filler
Yeah.
years there where you're like, why is this not as good?
Huh?
Especially when the games are always so much similar. It's like, yeah, that's how I felt about wrestling when I was talking about wrestling.
Yeah.
Now as far as the next one, I guess video game bosses you hated the most.
Uh
It's
huh.
kind of hard for me to really say because I don't really hate any of them no more. If I was to really try to like go back in time, I would have to really try to think about it. But I don't think it was a boss because I usually always overcome it. But
Okay.
if I can think of anything recently, it's gonna tie into something later on that I think would be an interesting thing. But maybe the ending boss to Outriders. If I was to go with anything recent, I would just say it just felt dumb. It just maybe it was an Outriders thing, but it was very anticlimactic. But at the same time, when they're just standing there and they're a bullet sponge or a hit sponge, and they're kind of just literally standing there. It's not even that they're difficult. They're not showing any type of offense really, but they just kind of hit you and then that's it. I know a lot of people feel that way about Souls games a little bit. I kind of can
Uh-huh.
understand, but I still like Souls games. But it's like if you really not showing no offense though, he
Yeah.
really stood there. If you remember that, he just like he stood there because for anybody else, anybody watching, we played it co-op, and there
Yep.
was a moment where there was a lot of moments where he really wouldn't move. He was standing there. He would kind of do like a little pose kind of thing, and then everybody else just jumps on the screen, and
Yep.
it's like, what is going on? Like I know Covain had not Covain, Remnant from the Ashes had that a little bit when it came to like all the henchmen that would come there, but at least the boss moved around and was still putting in work a little bit themselves in Remnant from the Ashes. There were
Yep.
moments where I can remember in Outriders, the final boss literally you would have thought he was glitched, like just in one spot. And
Yeah.
he would kind of like strike like certain poses and stuff. And we was just like emptying the clip on this dude. Like
Yep.
just emptying it. It was just dumb. It was dumb. So I would say just for recent memory, it would be him basically.
Yep. So I try to think about for this a boss that would like it's kind of like the reason I wouldn't want to replay a game. Like that's the boss versus like that's what's holding me back because I
Yeah.
don't want to face that person. And funny enough, my answer was also the final boss at Outriders, because he was just it was just bullet sponge and no like there wasn't any like tactic stuff. Like one of the bosses that I hated from like Remnant from the Ashes, funny enough, was that it was the blob in the room that stays stationary and shoots the spikes from the wall. Because just for
Yeah,
some reason I couldn't get the timing right for like dodging. But that was more me getting mad that I couldn't get the timing right than the boss doing anything wrong. Right. And I
yeah,
usually don't like when boss fights are just like, here's an overwhelming amount of people to fight. That's what the difficulty is. I don't like those.
yeah,
However, the remnant one, not only did it have that, or it's just here's a bunch of people to fight, and here's these little orbs that will hurt you, so you can't fight me. You got to fight those first, but I'm gonna keep trying to hit you. He was also just a bullet sponge, and it was just kind of like, okay, like I don't feel like I was like, strategically use your abilities to try
right.
and take the guy down. Because also it was like an open room, like with some of the elite bosses and everything, I could zip and teleport around the room to try and like recover and hide. Like I can't just be on the person shooting the whole time. Like I need to really think about this. This guy wasn't really a think about it. It was just keep shooting until you couldn't anymore. And it was just like, oh, but I guess to be a little bit different, but to throw back something in the Tekken games, whenever you're doing the tower and you got to come across that like giant robot one, there's like a robot enemy, and I can't remember its name, but I hate the thing because it's just like I'll hit it a couple times and its health doesn't move, and then it just does like a nonstop combo that I can't break from, and it just hits me until I'm dead. And it was just like, well, there goes that run, like every time. So I'll throw him in there too. There was another boss that I didn't like, but I'm gonna save that one for a different topic because it's more about the overall game than it is that specific boss.
Yeah, yeah. So that's good. That's good. It's funny we had the same one. Because
Yeah,
Outriders, I don't really like crap on Outriders as an overall game. Like I thought it was fine. Especially I spent like $20 on it. I'm not really mad. Like I wasn't
yeah.
a day one adopter, but um World Slayer just sort of came out and that was it. I didn't really check for it that as much, but
Yeah, I
um
kind of fell off a little.
I'm not against playing it. I just
Yeah.
know that one boss just was trash. It was just trash.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess we can probably move on from that. The next one I see on the list just says something weird you do in video games solely for immersion purposes or purpose.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing I could think of that I don't think is really as weird when you think about the amount of people who play this, I would go in GTA sometime and just walk down the streets, like literally just walk down the streets,
Okay.
or just drive the normal speed, or just go for a quote unquote go for a drive, and the drive is in GTA, and there was like
Okay.
literally nothing else. Like I've done that like when the game was like really in rotation for me. I've done that a lot where I would just do that. With the older ones, there was one. San Andreas is a good example too. San Andreas had a mini game where if you went to the pool, not pool, what is it called? If when you go to the bar down the street, you could play pool.
Yes. This
Um,
is
I remember a lot of time where I turned on the game on PS2 just to do that. Wasn't playing the story. Like I wasn't even done with the story. Like I had just like wanted to just do that. Like there were moments where I went into GTA to do the casino stuff too when you go to the Vegas portion. But the
all
main
right.
one was just to play the pool game that was
Yeah.
within it because you could play from start to finish solids versus stripes and
Okay. Now
I
you're
used
doing
to
that with Pokemon. Like I think that's the sign of a really good mini game.
yeah I do some mini games. I remember Pokemon Stadium. I used to turn on Pokemon Stadium back on the N64 just to play the mini games too. It was almost like Mario Party, but it was within Pokemon Stadium, the first one. I remember that. But yeah.
Okay. Something I do that's weird and is specifically for emergent purposes. If there isn't a reason for my character to be running, I won't run. Like
Uh,
it's weird for me to just dart down the streets. Another one is like certain games, like if there isn't a reason for my weapon to be out, I always want to know how to holster a weapon. Because to me, it's always weird, even in like a first-person game. It's like it's weird to be to like your character's just like casually walking down the street with like a weapon in his hand, just ready to go. And
Right.
it's like, well, no, if there's no reason for it to be out, I'm going to holster it. When I used to play Skyrim, they had like a uh quick change like for outfit or weapons where you can like quick attach stuff. And I had my helmet linked into there because if I'm just casually talking and doing stuff, I would take the helmet or the hood off, depending
Mm.
on what I was doing, and then put it back on if I was about to get into a fight. Uh yeah, definitely walking. Like it's always weird to me just like unless I am really rushing in the game to try and get something done. Nope, I gotta casually just walk. I push it the L stick lightly just to walk down the street like I'm not gonna run. There's no reason. I don't know why. It's just I guess it's because I play like with like RPGs and everything. I get lost in the role in my head. It'll look weird if this person's just darting down the street for no reason at all.
Yeah. But yeah, it would just be I'll be in the game and I'll just be hanging out in a random section in the game sometimes for a random game. Like I think Saints Row 4 I turned on a like not too long after we was done with it, like just to like drive around in the game and listen to the music because I thought it had unique music in there that I'm pretty sure it was copyright too. But I
Uh
didn't I didn't stream it. I just drove one of those fancy cars I made in the game just because. So yeah. Um
huh.
what's interesting because the next one that I had was like what habit has video game conditioned you to do? Honestly, I don't know if it's kind of considered a habit, but it makes me a little bit more introverted than normal. Like I just would choose being in the home and playing the games more than I would go to events or anything happening around me. I gotta know it will be stuff that I can do or go
Okay.
to. Things people doing maybe even like not all the time I would be invited, but stuff where I know I can easily go, like an open invitation, or
Yeah.
be more sociable, especially with today's day and age. Like, I think it stemmed more for gaming more than it was like recent lockdowns and stuff. But literally, it was just I would find a way or find reason to just stay home and play my games instead of going places. I do feel like it is somewhat not as healthy overall when you think about it. I think you should want to be more sociable. You should want to go and do things, but um half of the time I choose gaming. I'll be honest. I choose gaming over going to random places, random events, random whatever. So, yeah.
All right. So for me, I don't know what gaming has conditioned me to do in the real world because I don't know if I wouldn't do it without gaming because I've played games for so long. Um, so I'll guess. I mean, one thing is item hoarding until I'm for sure like I know I don't need it anymore. I'm one of those people. You know, you save items until the end of the game, and then
Mhm.
you're just like, well, I could have used this earlier because I didn't really need it. So then it's like even then, I remember in school, like old assignments or things, which you know you should save on to most things, but I'll have like one where it's just like, ah, you could get rid of this. I'm gonna hold on to it till the end of the semester because I don't know if I need it again. Like things like that. I would always do that. But I
Right.
guess more within a game, something that I always do that like isn't really worth it for every game, but I can't help but do it. And I'm sure you've noticed in the games that we play, I explore everything. Like you'll like it's clearly like
Yeah.
go this way, and I'll just like turn to the side and go look behind some crevice or something because I assume there could be something there. And that just has to do with like games where you find loot laying around that are always now in every game. What's behind this wall? What's behind this corner? And it won't even be a game that's heavy on loot. But I still gotta go look. I gotta go see what's in this area that I didn't see before because I gotta know what's over there.
I do that a lot. If you remember from the footage you probably saw when I was playing the Kirby game, I will backtrack a couple times. I do that
Yeah.
sometimes, but I remember doing that a few times in a Kirby game, mainly because I was trying to go for like a 100%. It's real funny because with Kirby, or not really Kirby, Nintendo's platform, there are no achievements or trophies. So I remember trying to go for a 100% because it was more Souls like, but then at the same time, it was like, there's no way for me to, like, nobody's gonna be able to cross check. There's no bragging with it. Even though I don't really participate in any of that, it was just like I would only know if you do that. Like I would
Uh,
be the only one who would know that I got the 100%. And so when I kind of realized that towards the end of the Kirby's main game, I kind of slowed down. It was like, oh, I missed one item, and it was like, oh, I'm not about to go back and try to find it. Where you look at this footage, the earliest, this is like some of the earliest footage. When I was fighting the monkey boss, I was attempting to get that last little thing where you have to beat him without taking damage whatsoever. And I actually did do it. I was able to do it. I think it might be on the next clip that I upload. But by the time I got towards the end of the game, I was just like, that's kind of stupid. It's like no point. Like I'll play him if he's harder, because that was why I kept like I bought the game because I wanted to go against the harder versions of him. But as far as like every little detail is like it doesn't matter really. I had to come to that conclusion because there was no trophy. There's no like award system way of knowing, except for you showing somebody when you like look within the game. Everybody else could see like how long you've played, but Nintendo needs some sort of trophy system. I don't know how they could do it. The one that I remember thinking was that they should have a star system similar to like Mario stars within
oh,
like it would be 5 stars. You know what I mean? Like I know that might come off a little GTA ish, but it's like you get a star or you get 2 stars or you get 3 stars or 4 stars, and it's all Mario stars, and it looks just like the stars from N64 or whatever. Like
that would be cool. And that tells you how much of the game you've completed and everything.
yeah, all that stuff. I was like, that would make sense, but Nintendo just doesn't have an award system. It's kind of a shame.
You
But
should, yeah. Trophies, achievements, stars. That makes sense to me.
um now this is gonna be the main event of this because I think we might debate
Yeah.
on this a little bit.
Okay.
Um Overhyped video game theme or mechanic that ruins the game in your opinion.
Uh huh.
Um I'm gonna be honest, and I know you probably gonna roll your eyes at it. I think the leveling up systems in games is definitely overhyped and it kind of ruins it.
Okay.
I've always
If you,
thought that, and I know I've voiced it before, but to be honest, I'm probably gonna die on that hill in the long run. And I got the example. I could give you the greatest example, and that was Outriders.
okay.
Because every time, like when we played it, it didn't really annoy me or nothing, but you would always tell me to make sure I'm keep leveling this guy up, keep leveling him up, keep leveling him up. And then at the end of it, it didn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like that's how I kind of felt about it. But at the same time, it was like my whole thing about the leveling up system, it doesn't matter if you control the difficulty in the game. Now, if you playing Souls, that's the only time I would tolerate it because you can't control the difficulty. But what good is leveling up the character over and over and over again when I could just hit the start menu and bring the difficulty back down at any moment? And I think we had that moment with Outriders. And so that's the part that I say is overhyped. I do also think that it's overly done right now in the industry. It seems like everybody's following that type of pattern, some sort of
Uh,
sandbox, and then you're just leveling up constantly just for the sake of leveling up. I remember hearing a complaint from somebody when it came to Horizon Forbidden West, the new one. And they was talking about like how they were playing the game for like a certain amount of hours. Like it was like within one gameplay, they had leveled up like over 10 times or something. It was
Oh
just
wow.
like, yeah, I think Outriders felt that way a little bit too. It's like by the time you got a gun, you was dismantling it. And so
Yeah.
that's where I would say I think it's a little overhyped, that mechanic.
Okay. I can definitely understand that. Like, so part of leveling up, I know, is a big thing in RPGs. Like getting better gear, better like stuff to do things.
Yeah.
But I can understand it being annoying, especially in a case like Outriders or Borderlands, when you have like a weapon that you
Yeah.
really like, and then all of a sudden now out of nowhere is just rendered useless because of artificial numbers, and now you got to get used to using something you don't like.
Yeah.
Because you like, especially in a game like Borderlands where there isn't a way to level up the weapon, so you can't just keep using it and everything. So now you gotta hunt down something similar or just deal with it.
And
Um,
sometimes the difference is cosmetic only too. It's
yep,
like yeah, they'll do like okay, it's a little bit stronger because of like the leveling up system. But when you really just looking at it, it's like okay, they just changed the color here and here, and maybe they put a
yeah.
scope on there somewhere, and all of a sudden this gun's better. And I'm like all
Oh,
right.
interesting. I
So
can dig it.
that's the one I would choose. But
All
it seems like it's just a little overexposed because of how games are developed today. It
right.
probably wouldn't be that bad if everybody wasn't trying to give you an open world RPG. Like that
Yeah.
sounds so common now. Open world RPG. And it's like, well, everybody wasn't trying to do that,
Nah.
then it
I
wouldn't
think
be that
sometimes
bad.
what makes certain linear games, like for example, Uncharted and things like that. That's what did
Yeah.
make those kind of nice, where it was just like you're going through the game, but it's not like, well, now you need to like equip this new shirt or this is like whatever the story is, you're equipped for it because the gun's gonna do the same damage as a normal gun. Uh and things like that. So it's just you maybe your tactics got to get better, but it's not like you got better at the game, but because you didn't change gear, all of a sudden you're just bad. So I
Yeah.
get it. All right, mine's a little bit more specific. Mine
All
is like
right.
a very specific thing that was hyped up and to me ruined the entire game, and it was a specific game. And this is
Okay.
something I mentioned where I said a boss fight earlier that I was gonna bring up, but it's really the mechanic, not necessarily the boss fight. And that was the Batmobile in Arkham Knight.
The Batmobile Arkham Knight.
So when they first announced that you could drive the Batmobile, in my head it was just like now you have like the first game was like Arkham Asylum, the building. Then it was like a little bit spread out to Arkham City, and then you had Arkham Knight, where it's pretty much you got the whole city in your hands, and
Right.
you could just get into the Batmobile and just go. And I was like, that was gonna be really cool. Occasionally use it, but then hop out, do what you got to do. But like, what's the point of fast travel? And you could like drive through the city and really see it. They made that game like 70% Batmobile. Like you had to like use the Batmobile to get Riddler trophies. You had to use the Batmobile to fight off other tanks. You had to use the Batmobile to grapple onto a building to go up the building. You had to beat a villain and then drive them back to the precinct using the Batmobile. And then for the final straw, and it's the thing that really stops me from almost replaying it. And to be honest, when I first played this, I just had to pass the controller to my brother and was like, "You do this part because I'm sick of this now." And it was one of the boss fights where you had to do the whole boss fight in the Batmobile. And it
Oh
was
wow,
just
like the
really
tank.
annoying, and I got sick of it. Yep. And I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I lost like 3 times, and I'd already, like, up until this point, started hating the Batmobile mechanics. And then it was like, all right, to get through this fight, you can only do it in the Batmobile. And I was like, nope, like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I had to pass the controller to him and just walk away. I didn't even see him beat it. I just came back because I know he beat it in his when he played it. So he beat it for me, and I took the controller back and then finished the game. And it's what stops me from wanting to replay through that one because I just don't want to be in the Batmobile anymore.
Yeah.
It was too much of a good thing. It was too much of a thing, whereas something everybody wanted, and they just overloaded it. It was like, nah, I didn't need it that much. Like a few races, a few fights in it, and then just like I did like the idea you beat an enemy and then you got to drive him back to the precinct. I did like those. Those were interesting. And then having occasional fights as you drive back. I didn't need it to be so much of the game though.
Yeah.
Like it was so weird. You were platforming on a roof in the Batmobile. You had to knock down some like electrical wires or something, or pull them up or something like that. So you're just like grappling your way to a roof and then moving around on the roof in the Batmobile. And I was like, this is stupid. Like I did not like it at all.
Well, you ain't gotta worry about that no more. They replaced it with the air jumps, man. You just air jump.
Fart jump my way instead. Now I was like, maybe I want the Batmobile back.
Yeah, I think the little cart in Borderlands is a little annoying, but I don't know. It's really just the controls of it. Really, it's not so much the cart itself. I think if they fixed the controls of it, it would have been better.
I didn't like how much we had to like. It's like, all right, now we got to go to this area, so you got to get back in the car, drive over everything you've already done, like in the car, just constantly going back and forth. I didn't like that.
Yeah,
I'd prefer a fast travel system over that.
Yeah, but I think that might have been it, man. This might have been it was a little bit shorter, not that much shorter, about 20 minutes shorter. But yeah, I don't think I got too much more on this agenda, but I will say when I was looking at the footage for gameplay footage that I have coming up in future episodes, there is one test footage that I did where it is going to be me on camera as well. So you'll see me in the corner. So I think that's going to be coming up soon. And so not everything's going to look like that. I still got way more footage of me not on camera, but every now and then there will be some footage like that. And there was one episode at least in the future where that's going to be like that. It might be 22 maybe or 23.
Okay.
But I want to say by the time we hit the 30 range, you should start seeing them more often, like half the time. Like I should start like just because I'm trying to like ease over into it. At least I'll be on camera some of the times, even if you don't have the audio, because it's still podcasting on top of it. It's going to be extremely unique because I don't think I've ever seen anybody show their gameplay footage and that they're in video on it, and then at the same time on the side, like in real time. So, yeah, but there is a gameplay footage for a game that was called Eldest Souls. That is, I want to say almost 2 hours worth of footage that I had that I was going to actually use. So I was going to use that in one of the podcasts. So it was going to be a lot of podcast footage where you get to see that. So that'll be interesting to see. That's in the future. Other than that, I don't really got anything else to say. We could end it on that. Still a good episode. Pretty cool. Pre-recorded. So hit the like button. We're still trying to be as active as we can. There might be some bumps in the road in the future, but we're still going to be working at it whenever we could. You know, this is a cool little podcast. But yeah, anything else, man? Any last words? I can end it in a second.
I said it in the last episode, and I'll say it again. I'm sure more will come out, but justice for the voice actors.
Oh yeah, justice for the voice actors. Bayonetta is our most recent one that we discussed at the end of last week's episode. I think I'm gonna clip that anyway. I'm gonna clip that part. Right. That clip should go out before this. That clip will go out before this. Right. But yeah. Other than that, man, have fun gaming. You know, enjoy your games. Play them how you want to play them. Play the mini games. Go back and play old stuff. Enjoy it. There's so many games out there that you can enjoy. I like to play old and new simultaneously. It don't make no difference to me. I'll play it all. But yeah, that's all I got for you here. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and don't forget to wash the back of your ears. All right, we are out.